Aloha and welcome to Connection to the Cosmos with your host, me, Dr. Lisa Thompson, where I have out of this world conversations with extraordinary people. And today I am really excited to have on Nancy Thames. We're going to bring her on in just a moment, but first, a couple of announcements. If you haven't had a chance to grab my free 20-minute meditative journey to meet your galactic family and guides, make sure you do that at my website, mysticmanta.com or drlisajthompson.com. And I'm also having my galactic retreat here in Hawaii on the Big Island from October 2nd to the 6th. Very limited spots available for that. That's also on my website, the information. And if you're coming to Hawaii anytime in the year, especially to the Big Island, then come on one of my Big Island UFO tours where you will see the night sky in a whole new way using my advanced Generation 3 military night vision goggles. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Nancy. Hello, Nancy.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
So great to have you here. So let me share with the audience your background because I'm really excited about our conversation we're going to have. So Nancy Thames, a former Department of Defense employee and a lifelong contactee of extraterrestrial beings, has emerged as a significant voice in the realm of alien disclosure and spiritual awakening. Her journey, marked by personal struggles, transformed profoundly through her continuous extraterrestrial encounters. These experiences, initially suppressed, were eventually embraced as Nancy began to understand their purpose in her life and for humanity. She has come to the decisive conclusion: it is time for disclosure. Yes, I agree. Her dedication to this cosmic narrative propelled her to create timefordisclosure.com, a platform advocating for open dialogue about extraterrestrial interactions and the greater implications for humanity. Here she shares her personal encounters, insights gleaned from beings across dimensions, and her perspective on what these interactions mean for human evolution. Nancy's work underscores a collective call to awakening. She stresses that experiences often labeled as abductions are, in her understanding, enlightened contacts, part of a broader benevolent interaction with extraterrestrial entities, aiming to usher humanity into a new era of cosmic participation. This mission, conveyed through her writing and community engagement, is driven by a philosophy of unity, spiritual evolution, and the pursuit of truth, extending an invitation to all of humanity to acknowledge and embrace our place within the larger galactic framework. Well, wow. So, seriously, I'm part of your Facebook group, and I've been so excited to have you on my show so that I can actually get to understand your experiences, because I haven't heard your stories at all. So before we get into that, I would love for you to share with me and the audience kind of your background, like how you grew up, spiritual, religious, something else. If you've been a lifelong contactee, tell us about your growing up.
Sure. I grew up in a spiritual family. We attended church from time to time, but we were not regular goers. However, we were very outdoors people, nature oriented. We did a lot of camping, a lot of traveling in the summers, and we felt like we could have a conversation with God anywhere we were, any place, be it at a national park. And a lot of times we went to the national park would have their own church service out in the middle of the forest, or somewhere around some beautiful rocks, and that's how I grew up. We could be at a picnic table or anywhere out on the river fishing, and if we wanted to have our conversation. I grew up in a family that believed that we could do that there was always an ear open, an invitation was open to us to have our bring him into our lives and for us to share it with our lives with him. Yes. So, yeah, I'd say a spiritual upbringing.
Yeah. Well, and okay. So when did you first discover that you had been a contactee? Did you know as a child? Or,
yes. Yeah. I always knew. There were times, depending on how I felt about the experience, where they would partially erase, or they would, really and truly, they knew that it was something that it was not the time to be discussing these things. So, and then when I would mention it to my parents, they would equate it to um, a very imaginative dream, or just a very vivid imagination, things that a 2 or 3 year old would just say, like, so they would just say, oh, that's silly talk, you go back to bed. And I remember saying, there's little beings in my room, I'm wondering if the little beings are coming. And they would say, you may or may not have that dream, just things like that. So it was brushed off, and this continued. So about 2 or 3, I always knew, and it continued on throughout my life. But as I got older, say around junior high age in high school, and I was reading books, and again, my parents had always told me these are not topics that you talk about. I was big into the Girl Scouts, big into playing basketball and all these activities, sports and softball, etc. And they were very persistent in telling me, you cannot talk about these things. I grew up in Tennessee. It is a broad area, what's considered the Bible Belt, and these topics were not topics to be discussed amongst anyone, really. And they didn't mind a little bit of it, but they didn't really want to just go on and on about it. So I learned very quickly this was just something that I could not talk about. And I accepted that at the time. It didn't bother me until later in life, when I became a wife, when I became a mother, and when I felt that I could be more open about these conversations. The people around me at that time did not feel that way. So it was unfortunate. Not everybody wants to hear what somebody like I have to say. They think it's just pure nonsense. And it's more open now, and I'm so happy about that. But it's okay. I understand. People were just not ready at that time. It just wasn't. And I think a lot of people have had experiences in their life and still do. Yeah. And they still feel it's not time. They're not ready to open up about it, So everybody's on their own spiritual path and awakening process. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Either you are or you're not ready. And we shouldn't push people that aren't, because they have to follow their own path. So that's kind of how it all happened. And then I have different experiences as I grew up on how I became, because of the world around me when I was in junior high and going into high school, and because of what people were saying, I became scared. And I was never scared before, but I became scared.
A question. I was curious. Yeah. Were you scared at all? But
yeah, okay. I did. And what they would do, the whole experience changed. When I was little, they would just take a handheld device and run it from head to toe. And I never really understood the process of this, but I do now. But they were changing my human frequency to match their frequency. And that's how they would run it up and down. And then my body would vibrate to a different frequency, a higher frequency. And then my body would start to like lift off the bed. And then I would look around and see that I was holding the hands of a female gray who was reddish brown, and that we would be going up through a ceiling or through a door or through a window. And at that age, I simply did not understand how that was possible, because I would mention something like to my family or even at school, and those human beings were not supposed to be able to do these things. So it was confusing at times, and I was very scared. And I realized as I got older, if I wanted more conscious time with them, I had, and they told me it's all on me. I have to deal with my fear and anxiety because they are telepathic. These are not feelings that they are used to. So whatever I feel, they feel it 10 times the amount, and they're not used to these feelings, and they don't like it. I mean, it's just they don't know what to do with these anxiety, crying, and screaming, hollering, all these type feelings that someone in fear may have. So they would tap me on the forehead, put me in a trance-like state. I was fully functional, but I was calm and I could go through the whole experience. But my only problem with that is that when I would come back and either be waking up, coming back from that trance, or later waking up the next day, my memories would be fragmented. I wouldn't have the full conscious memory. So as I got older, and it took time, of course, nothing happens overnight, I realized I had to address that and recognize the feeling, the frequency exchange between us. Is it wasn't what they looked like, it was the frequency exchange. I would feel their frequency, and it my brain didn't know, is this good or bad? What is this? And so I would feel the fear festering inside me, and I would just have to stop and just say, whoa, I've done this before. Let's just go with this and get through it. So now I'm able to address that when I sense the fear. I understand, and I just go with it. And then I get to experience full conscious contact with them now, physical face-to-face contact. But it's not an easy process. And it sounds, there's a lot in an hour that we can't go through all the different things that we go through mentally, physically. But, until you finally understand what all this means, the purpose, it's natural that anybody would be a little scared. And I think a lot of contact with extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, probably are misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not our fault. It's just that fear, So it's a process for sure.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I guess one question that I have is, was it always the same group of Greys, or did you have other races that were?
Well, for me, the way it works is when to come and get me, like from my bed or for wherever I am, or if I'm sitting in a chair, relaxed or whatever, I sense their presence. I have the ability. I know that they're coming.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives me enough time to get myself mentally really scared or mentally prepared. And
Okay.
so, that has changed over the years. So they always send Greys. Greys always travel in threes. And one of the Greys is a female. Like I said, she's female. I don't know if I said that. And she is reddish brown, and I am bonded to her. She is always the one since my birth comes to gets me to craft. Once I get on craft, I don't see her or the other two Greys. That's when I am around a group of beings of many races and many dimensions. The tall Greys, some reptilians, some aquatic beings, some Nordics, Palladian. I really don't know. They kind of look the same to me. And some are taller, some are shorter. And then the interdimensional beings are about 7 to 8 foot tall, and they are human-like, but their skin is very, very pale. And they're human-like, but they're not human, And so that's when I'm around all these different beings. And there's some beings that I don't even know what we would call them here, because they don't really call themselves Greys or tall Greys, or that, humans have come up with all those concepts. So, but there's some beings that look like me from about the head to the hip. And then when you look down, like they have animal-like feet, So there's many, many different races out there. And of every single race, there's many different offshoots of each race, many, many different ones in different colors, different heights, different facial features. So there's a lot of, our universe is full of life. There's no question about that. And we are not alone. And we have never been alone.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So my next question then is, so what, do you know why you specifically have been chosen to be one of these contactees?
Yes. When I was in my late 20s, right before 30, somewhere in that neighborhood, or early 30s, I was on a vacation with my children at Key West at a Marriott hotel, and I witnessed my two sons being taken for their first time. That changed everything for me. What happened was I felt their presence. I raised up. My ex-husband and I were in one bed. The children were in the opposite bed. And we had a small bathroom light that was like had the door barely cracked so I could see. And these grays that appeared were 3 foot tall, and they were gray, and they had on robes and high collars. And when I was sitting up in the bed, one approached me, pressed me down, and telepathically told me, "This is not about you. Go to sleep or lay down." And so, and he put me in a sleep paralysis, so I could not speak and I could not move. And I was very, very upset because I realized it's not about me. And they start walking over towards the kids. It was them. And so I witnessed there, laid there and watched them, get them up out of the bed and then leave with them. And I went to sleep. And when I woke up, they were safe in the bed. So when we went to breakfast at this Marriott hotel, I asked them if they had any strange dreams or anything strange that they'd like to talk about. And they did not, I don't think they remembered any of it. And I told my ex-husband, but he was like, "Don't talk about stuff like that. Mothers don't talk about stuff like that." And so I just shut up, because that's what was expected of me. But when I got home, I meditated and I formed a circle around me, which I felt was like I meditated with pure intent, and I wanted a safe place around me because I wanted the messages that I was sending to go directly to them. And I asked them for full face-to-face contact. I asked them for information as to why me, why my children, what is the purpose, what is, I don't understand it. I want to understand.
Yeah.
And they did not come immediately. I have no special powers. I don't pretend I can do things I can't do. I'm having a human experience. I'm a human being. So in their time, they eventually did come. And that was the 3 that I recognize and know came from me and took me on craft and took me before a group of elders. And these elders were of different races and were, I would assume, I don't know what I just know they were older, wiser, and they were from different races, representatives or something like that. And I asked them, and they told me that I had made a choice before becoming a human being to be here at this time because this is a very special moment for humanity. This is pivotal. And that I had agreed to be here, and my children were part of that. They had made agreements as well. And we were here for a purpose and a reason. And at the time, they couldn't tell me everything. They said that they would be visiting me more often throughout my time, and it would be more explained as I matured. So I just shook my head, and they saw this, and they could sense my feelings. So they showed me a vision. So I saw a vision that they presented to me of myself being in an etheric form and waiting, and them walking up to me and saying, "It's time for your human experience. And remember, when you wake up to breathe, remember that you will not remember any of this, but we will be coming to see you." Or they didn't say, "Remember, you won't remember this." They said, "You will not remember this, but we will be coming to visit you, and you later in life will remember." So, and I saw myself like, and going into like a fetus soul, my soul going into a fetus within a mother. So they showed me that, and there were, I just, it was what it was. And I just, dealt with it. I certainly couldn't talk about those kind of, visions or anything. It would not have been acceptable, and especially to my ex-spouse. So I again suppressed it all. But basically, that's what has happened to me. And a lot of times I didn't understand everything about this. And it wasn't until really a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago, going on 3, they gave me a Kundalini awakening. And when that happened, it scared me to death. I did not know what it was. I had never even heard of it before. But I was laying in the bed and my body jerked straight up and my head back. And then I have like these surges of energy shoot through me. And then my body would fall back and then come back up. And it happened 3 times like that. And then I experienced like a out of body experience where I was around a group of people that most likely this had just happened to, but I was flipped out. I didn't know what it was. I'm like, is this death? Is this, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. So I got back home, and when I woke up, I didn't tell anybody about it because I didn't know what to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about it. And it was about a month later, I had an experience with the interdimensionals. And when I was with them, I said, what happened to me? And they said, what do you think happened to you? Because they always tell me when I ask them questions, you already know. And I'm like, I don't. And they said, what do you think it was? And I said, the Kundalini awakening? And they kind of went, yes, because a lot of times our human versions of experiences are not necessarily what they call them, but basically what they told me is that they opened up my subconscious into my human consciousness, because I was having a hard time when they were giving me downloads and messages. I was having a hard time understanding where these were coming from. I was questioning it. I was wondering, did I just think that, or is this what a download is? I was having a hard time. So to speed up the process for me, they opened it up. So, and when that happened, it was like all the things that I was questioning, everything came together, and all the pieces, everything through my life all made sense. And I understood just the little simplest things. Like, I was so upset when I witnessed my children being taken, but then all of a sudden, it's like my perception about everything changed, not because they wanted it to. It's just that I saw it in a different, as a purpose and a meaning.
Right.
And they could have easily have taken my children without me even knowing.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted me to witness that. They wanted me to know that this is serving a higher purpose, a higher meaning. And so now I know I was an interdimensional before I came here, and I'm having a human experience, and I chose to be here because humanity is going through an evolutionary change. This is the biggest thing since our creation that humans have experienced. And we have all made a choice to be here, and we are all a part of it, which has led me to the conclusion, humanity, we are the disclosure, because we are reaching higher levels of consciousness, understanding our origins, understanding our place within our planet, our place within the universe, and part of the cosmic realm. And we are all one, and we are all connected. And basically, our planet and all living creatures on our planet and the universe and all these things are living conscious beings. And they have just been waiting for us to reach this level of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it's just like all of the races of interdimensionals and extraterrestrials have surrounded our planet, because this is a big deal. We are waking up. We are going to become part of the cosmic realm and understand who we are as humans, our uniqueness. Parts of our DNA will start to activate that has been dormant because of these elites and controllers over us, the cabal, the black hats, dark government, whatever you want to call them, have purposely kept humanity separated, purposely kept us dumbed down, because it's easy to control a population by keeping your population at a lower frequency, dumbed down, and keeping us unhealthy. We
Yeah.
should have no poverty. We should have no sickness. When we were created, everything that we ever needed was placed here on this planet to sustain us throughout our lives and through future generations. We should have no sickness. There's cures for things here. So either the powers that be know these things and they're sitting on these technologies and keeping humanity away from it
Hmm.
because we're easier to control. And I think that's what's happened. I can't prove that, but I'm pretty sure that that's what the interdimensionals have told me anyway, that we have been manipulated, toyed with, and controlled, but we are reaching the point to where we will recognize that things in our life need to change and that these things were not necessarily all bad. There was good and bad things, but we need to be a forgiving race and understand that it took these challenges or these things that happen in all of our lives for eons to make us into the human beings that we are becoming now. And it's what we do now that's important, our behaviors. And we need to learn to be more positive. And when we do this, it raises our frequencies. As we raise our frequencies, it changes. We realize that we no longer have a need for negative aspects. We no longer have a need for wars. We no longer have a need to think negative things because we need to understand that the world around us is changing and we need to change with it, and be better human beings.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's exactly what my ETs share as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who, um, you know, channel a little more fear-based stuff, but that's not.
No,
There's an
it's
aspect
not.
of it, but
It's
it's
not.
no.
And not everybody here on earth is here for the purpose as you and I,
Yeah.
putting positive energy frequency, helping people to learn how to be better humans without wars, without poverty, without disease, because we can do these things. But there's just as many people here that are against these things happening because they like us at a low frequency
Right.
and they like to be able to control us. So that's the key point is through the majority number of humanity. I think that's why these extraterrestrials and interdimensionals are working through people like us
Hmm.
to reach humanity. I think they've tried to go through governments in the past, and that did not get them anywhere. And plus, government people are only in office temporarily.
Right.
Humanity, we are here to stay. So they're working with us and they're watching our frequencies. And the way that I see things is we are slowly. It's not going to happen just like we see night and day. It's a slow process. Everything beautiful by the creator or sources that be is done in a beautiful, slow way so that we will not be shell shocked. So their people will not be running around with guns and acting crazy. It's all done with intentional design in a way that we are all a part of it and we are a part of it and it will be so slow and happen that by the time we get to the end of all these disclosure, awakening, a higher dimension, it will seem like it's always been that way.
Hmm.
It won't
Exactly.
be because inner dimensions are not physical places. They are higher consciousness.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Beautiful. Well, so I'm curious with your boys. So are
Yeah.
they fully aware now? Are they part
Oh,
of this?
absolutely. My oldest son has the same experiences that I do, and they gave him his Kundalini awakening. My youngest son, he is still at the in between stages, and that's fine.
Hmm.
We don't push him. I mean, everybody has to get there on their own pace, so he's not closed up about it by any means, but he doesn't have the understanding of it like my son and I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So is the son that's fully aware and awake, is he out sharing information like you are?
He instigates helping me he feels like he's here to help me. He is a web genius. He has an
Okay.
IT specialist and all that. So his he helps me to get all these. He created the website, the programming, the physical parts of aspects, all the brain part aspects he is doing. And
Yeah.
it's just as important to him as it is to me. And he knows at some point his position in this will change. I won't be able to do this forever. And we don't know how long this is going to last.
Right.
So he knows. We both know, but we just take it as a day at a time, because it's still new, and it's still, not everybody wants to hear what we have to say,
They don't, but my audience does.
but we don't care. This
No,
is,
exactly.
we understand that this is why we are here. This is our purpose in life. And I am happier. He is happier. We are happier than we've ever been in our lives, because we
Yeah.
can be who we truly are. And I've been through 2 divorces, and that was very traumatic. So life has not been easy for me, but everything I understand was something that I needed to experience, my children needed to experience, to get us to make us who we are today. And it was just part of life, and it's not a bad thing at all. It's just things that needed to happen. So, and that's the way it is with humanity. A lot of decisions were bad decisions that were made to suppress disclosure for so many years. But most of those people aren't even alive anymore. And we're going to have to be a forgiving race. We don't have to forget, but we need to forgive and move on and understand and learn from these mistakes and realize we're the generation that is going to change the outlook for humanity. We are going to go in a more positive way, and we are going to forgive, and we are going to push into making every bit of humanity a better experience for human beings, because right now we have very short lives. We should be living longer.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, people are struggling and a slave to their jobs. Those things can change, and we can take this AI technology and keep in mind that it is a man-made program tool. So by keeping it as a man-made tool, understanding we are in charge, we are the intelligence behind it, we can instrument it in regards to the betterment of all of humanity. It's not going to steal jobs. It is going to create better jobs in our futures, which they've showed me visions of. Our jobs, we will not be calling them jobs. We'll be calling them like community service or our joy in life. It will be a different experience. And these will be not jobs that you choose because of the pay scale. They will be activities that you choose because you love it. And yet it is a way of you giving back community service and being a part. But we will learn and we will understand that this materialistic valued world is not serving us like it used to. And we will realize that there's more important things, and we will learn to share and let all of humanity benefit, and there will be no poverty, there will be no sickness. And I know a lot of people will say that sounds so far-fetched, or that sounds so whatever, but we can do this.
Yes, we can.
It's just a matter, it's a new way of thinking and a new way of living. And if we just quit fighting, the goodnesses that are presented to us, the beautiful things, and see the world as a beautiful place and not look at the negative things in life. We create our own reality by the majority of people being negative or positive. So what we need to do is work at being positive, and everything in our world around us will be so thrilled because we are all connected, and we will all work together in unison with Mother Earth, with all the plants and trees and all things on it, the universe, extraterrestrials and interdimensionals, we are all one, and they will be here to assist, not take over, not anything other than assist and be a brother or sister to us. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so, not necessarily, I mean, possibly on the podcast here, there might be people that don't understand how they shouldn't be afraid of this. And I have people that come on the tour, all the time. And some of them are like, well, what about the negative ones? And I'm like, and so a couple of questions there. One is, I have my own explanation of the ones that are perceived to be negative, but also the people that have fear, like if a craft were to land or they were to have some kind of contact, they'd be like, I don't know if I want to, I'm scared. So what would you say to that?
That's understandable. And they know this. So that's why this is being done in a very slow process. So for me, it's not what they look like. It's the frequency that I feel off of them. It is so much stronger than a human frequency. So, but for people, it may be simply what they look like. So first of all, people, and we need to do our part. That's why we're here. We came here, and this is what we're doing, is to help people understand that not everyone looks like us.
Right.
We are not alone. And, to educate people, get them prepared. And I do know that the first ones that land here and interact with us will be human looking, because they know that's what will be more understandable and perceived better by human beings. So they are a billion years ahead of us in evolution, and this is not their first rodeo with beings that are waking up and becoming part of the cosmic realm. So they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. And it's just like, for me, I came here 64 years ago, and they've been working and getting me ready for this event. So, and there's other people like me, and other people may be doing it a little differently or whatever, but we are here and we're all doing this. So it's okay to be scared. But what I would say is look within. Ask your subconscious mind to help you understand these changes that are happening in our world, because your subconscious mind already knows a lot of these things.
Yeah.
When we come here on Earth, our memories are erased from anything from if we had a previous life, and most of us have. This is my first time being on Earth, and I know that, but that doesn't mean that it's other people's. I can only speak about myself. I do not know everything, So, but I say, look within, ask your inner soul self, your subconscious, to help you. And when you do that, it will free up a lot of those boundaries that your brain has put there to keep you in a safe place, because human brain does not like change or fear or things it doesn't understand. So it puts it in the fear compartment. So meditate, ask yourself to help you, your subconscious, to come forward, and that you're ready to understand the world around us or yourself. And it will start to help you, and you'll have these gut feelings, and you should go with those gut feelings, because so much more than than anybody realizes, because a lot of times this is not our first rodeo as being a living being, and energy being somewhere. So a lot of these things our inner self will help us with.
Yeah. So as far as you starting to share this, was it just after the Kundalini awakening, or?
No.
Okay.
No.
When did you feel comfortable where you could start talking about it? Because
in my 50s or early 40s, 50s. And I started, doing the websites, and then I ventured out more in Facebook groups. And then it just, they always told me I would know when the time is right. And I did. And my son was like, hey, Mom, let's just create this website. Hey, Mom, hey, let's just, and I'm like, yes. It was the first time in my life that somebody listened to me and was giving me that push. Yes, Mom. Yes. So it was just beautiful. And that took a pretty good while too. So, nothing's done. Rome wasn't built in a day, and nothing is accomplished in a day. And it takes everybody time, and people will start to wake up more as we reach higher consciousness, and as disclosure information comes out, memories will they'll start to remember things, and they'll start to question things. And I do think that as a whole humanity, and you being in your field of working with people and their emotions and feelings, we all need to be aware that a lot of newcomers will start surfacing and seeking information from us. And we need to be prepared on knowing where to get them help, where to find meetups, where they can go and discuss their experiences with other people. I'm doing what I can on Facebook and putting links to like groups and things like that, but we all need to play our part. And, because there will be a lot of newcomers coming into this, and they will need assistance on where to go and who they can talk to. They may not have a family member they can talk to.
Yeah.
But we certainly know what that's like. Yeah.
Well, okay. So with having all of these experiences throughout your life, and working for the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was wonderful. I learned so much. I worked in dentistry, and I thought I knew everything. I didn't know nothing. It was an educational institute, Schofield Barracks on Oahu, and they have a extended program for dentists that graduate to learn a specialty in dentistry. So It was a learning environment, and we had departments of every single aspect of dentistry, and so I rotated around in it. But it had nothing to do with extraterrestrials. If they knew about me, I had no indication that they knew. However, now that I think back, it all just came together so quick and so beautiful. I wonder if the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials had something to do with it, and if I just happened to meet the right people, because I became a direct hire from one of the commander generals of the medical dental Pacific Rim. I didn't have to go through the regular USAA jobs thing. I did sign up and applied on it, but I ended up being a direct hire. Okay. So it was kind of strange how it all played out. And I just thought that, wow, I did a good job, of instigating myself. But I could have possibly had help from the interdimensionals. And the fact that I've lived so many different places, which I have an interest in cultures. So, it worked out to where I was in places where I could learn about cultures and things. So I feel like they gave me that incentive to seek out going and doing all these things. So they've been instigated my whole life. And I realize things now that I didn't know. And my parents certainly didn't understand what was going on with me, because it's like I got stuck in the Pacific for a pretty good while. And that just seemed like so far away from Tennessee where they live. So, but I understand it now. Everything was for a purpose. Everything was for a reason. And it just all comes together and makes sense now.
Yeah, well, and I totally resonate with that because, my first career is as a zoologist, marine biologist, where I was, the whole biodiversity thing and really appreciating form and function. And so I love diversity of looks and, all the different things. And so I feel like that was purposeful for being able to help people understand that there's a reason why beings look the way that they do to fit or
it's amazing. Actually, it's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of intentional design and thought. It's amazing and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. Yeah.
So, okay, so we are having government disclosure. However, I think that there is some misinformation purposely being shared
Oh,
through
I'm sure there is. Yeah.
outlets. And so, what would you, I mean, again, I know what I would say about that, but what would you say to the audience of how to discern whether something really is true that they're saying or not?
Everyone should do their own research into things, and everyone should, like I said, look within, figure out who you are. What I did was forget the Nancy Tims that the world around me has created and programmed me in from the minute I was born. Who is the real Nancy Tims?
Mm-hmm.
So I meditate and ask, like I said, ask my subconscious to open up and what really means things to me. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose here? And when I got those answers, that I don't even watch television. I don't listen to what they say. I will post things that people put on YouTube and I post in the group. But I really think that, yes, they have disinformants out there, just like they did back when they had Project Blue Book.
Right.
I mean, and some people are literally born here to mess things up for humanity because for whatever reason they don't want us to ascend and become higher conscious beings. But I do know the majority of us are good. The majority, we are very big in numbers. And I truly believe by the simple fact that the interdimensionals and positive extraterrestrials saw that humanity was waking up. That brought them down in great numbers. And when they did that, they told the negative extraterrestrials of a lower realm that come from within our galaxy, maybe not necessarily the same frequency that we see, but from our galaxy, to leave humanity alone. And they showed me visions, and I've actually seen some YouTube stuff from the ISS somewhere I saw it, but it was like all these craft were leaving Earth because they told them no more, leave humanity alone. And I truly believe that abductions, the ones for research and genetic research and stuff, stopped at least 5 years ago. And I've been told it's gone back as far as 10 years. I don't know the exact date, but some people will argue with me and say that it's still happening today. And I'm not going to argue. I can only present what they told me. But
Right.
and so, and the way they explained that to me was that these negative lower rim extraterrestrials, in their eyes, they didn't think they were doing anything wrong because they didn't see it any differently than what our biologists or our scientists go out and tag a deer or tag or take a blood sample. They didn't see what they were doing any different than what we do to the animals and, dolphins or whales or anything. In their eyes, that they just didn't see it that way. And also, a lot of times, it's just like I mentioned, like with me, they do not like to feel anxiety, fear, emotion, period. So they would tap just about anybody out to not experience that. And they travel in threes because they know that a human being can get aggressive. So they will tap you out. So most of what people are remembering is from the initial fear. And when you have that much fear, and believe me, I know it is real. And when you feel that kind of fear, all sense of the situation goes away. And then your perception perceives it differently, maybe,
Hmm.
or that maybe some of them did seem aggressive or whatever, but by nature, they're not demonic. And by nature, they are not really aggressive. They just did not care what humans felt like or what their perception was, because their view was that they didn't really see a need for humanity to ascend and become in the cosmic realm, and when they did that, though, they were excommunicated by the greater number, and grays have a hive mind. And when they did that, they were excommunicated by the other grays. They were not part of the collective consciousness anymore. So not only did they finally realize they could not do this anymore because the interdimensionals are of a higher frequency and
Hmm.
told them to, but they wanted to be a part of the collective hive mind once again too. So that's why I feel that it did end when they were told to, for different reasons. One, they wanted to be part of the collective consciousness. Two, they were told to do it.
Okay.
And I'm
'Cause-
sure other people have different ideas on it, but
yeah.
that's just what my perception.
Yeah. Well, and the people who have had those experiences, it's
Yes, it's
my spiritual understanding that nothing happens to us that we didn't sign up for at a soul level agreement.
yeah, that's
So,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And that's why they can't interfere in our day-to-day lives, is because we have soul contracts. We
mhm.
decide how long we're going to be here, what we're going to experience. So for me, I used to be an interdimensional, they could cure me of something, but some people, they want to, but they can't because of that soul contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you know that.
Yeah. Oh, I know a lot, Nancy.
Always walking on pins and needles on, like, what can I say?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, I grew up in a metaphysical spiritual household. I've also been a lifelong contactee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, we're out of time. So, are there any final words that you want to say? And then maybe we can have you back on again.
I would love to. Everyone needs to work on being positive, and not all change is bad. It is new and it is different, but you can look at everything positively or negatively. It gets you nowhere being negative. Try to be more positive. Try to be better humans. Try to conduct yourself in front of your children, your family, your friends, and they will want to pick up and be positive too. And it will spread. It will spread like a wildfire. So just be proud that you are part of this disclosure. We are all part of disclosure. We are the disclosure. Be proud and help one another when you can, and just be better human beings.
Beautiful way to end the show. And I thank you so much for being here with me, and to the audience listening or watching, thank you as always. And I'll see you next time on Connection to the Cosmos. Aloha.